My name is Lisa Shawn Judd-Wallace. I'm a park ranger in interpretation for the Bureau of Land Management, the Central Yukon Field Office. The Bureau of Land Management is a multiple-use agency, and its mission is to sustain the health, diversity, and productivity of the public lands. But it's actually got a much wider scope and encompasses more different kinds of resource uses than our sister agencies, the National Park Service and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. The Bureau of Land Management manages the land along the Dalton Highway from the Yukon River north to Slope Mountain, which is about milepost 300, as well as lands that are to the east and west of the Dalton Highway. The area along the Dalton Highway itself was designated by Congress in 1971 as the utility corridor. And the primary purpose of the utility corridor is actually for the transportation of energy resources. Oil was discovered at Prudhoe Bay in 1968. And prior to that, there was no road access whatsoever to the entire Brooks Range or all of northern Alaska, so it was extremely remote. But with the construction of the pipeline looming ahead, there had to be a road built to bring supplies and equipment and people to work on it. And so the haul road, as it was called then, was begun in 1974, and it was completed in 5 months, which is a phenomenal feat considering the extreme terrain and the extreme climate and the extreme distances. Initially, it was a private road, and in 1979, Alyeska Pipeline Service Company transferred ownership of the road to the state of Alaska. And around 1980, 1981, there were some commercial tour operators allowed to bring visitors up the haul road, but the general public was still limited to driving as far as milepost 211, which is just about 30 miles north of Coldfoot. It wasn't until late 1994 that the road was opened all the way to Prudhoe Bay for the general public. The Dalton Highway goes through some beautiful, beautiful landscapes that are very unique and different from places that most people ever get to see. You can drive from Fairbanks all the way up to the Arctic coast. So you're driving through the Brooks Range and out onto the North Slope and then out onto the Arctic coastal plain. It's a landscape where you have to get down on your hands and knees sometimes to really appreciate the plants and the animals that have these amazing adaptations. They have to live in an environment that's dominated by cold and wind and low light. And that's not like any place else that most of us grew up in. You can see for vast distances. Sometimes you can see musk oxen or Arctic fox, truly Arctic species. There's some very special landmarks that people will see as they drive north from Fairbanks. There's the Yukon River, which is a magnificent sight. This is the only bridge crossing the Yukon River in Alaska. As people drive farther north, they cross the Arctic Circle, which is often a very special destination. At Coldfoot, people start to get into the Brooks Range itself, and it has both historic significance and geologic significance. But Coldfoot was a mining town to begin with, and then when that played out, more gold was found farther north in a place now called Wiseman. And that's a very historic spot. Gold is really what brought people to the Upper Kayakuk Valley. As people get into the Brooks Range, the mountain landscapes are spectacular. And I think one of the most iconic vistas is that of Sukakpak Mountain, which is at about mile 204. From the south side, there's just this massive wall of limestone and marble that just glows in the sun in the afternoon. From the north side, it's just got this unique profile that's become kind of an icon of the Dalton Highway experience. Traveling the Dalton Highway is a rare experience for adventurous souls. Take the time to prepare and take the time to enjoy the trip. I think too many people rush it. It needs time to really appreciate the vastness of the landscape, the distances that you have to travel, and to really immerse yourself in this landscape that's unlike so many other places on Earth.